Good morning. Today we're going to help you set up your space when you're setting up all your new equipment to start doing RBTI testing. I want to show you all the instruments you should have and all the equipment that you should have in order to get started. Today you should have received your refractometer, a pH meter, a conductivity meter, and your foam box that will contain the universal solution, the ammonia nitrate solution, and your nitrate solution. It's actually ammonia nitrogen solution. And so those are all the things that you'll be using. I set up the foam box with the universal solution, and if you purchased the bigger bottle, you could then put it into the small brown bottle that would have come. And then the next hole, you could put your ammonia nitrogen solution, and then the last brown bottle is your nitrate solution, which is the one that you need to be very, very careful with. It is an acid and will burn. You may have also received, when you ordered your kit, some pH testing also. You'll have 4 bottles of different colors that you'll be able to use your well plate with to measure pH if you don't have a pH meter. More on that later. You'll see that I have my droppers set up in test tubes, but you can do whichever is most convenient for you. I also like to have spare pH tape just in case I want to double check or back up any of my readings from my pH meter. You may also want to have a timer, as your nitrate test that you'll be putting in your wells does require 5 minutes to totally, quote, cook to get an accurate reading. You have your specimen container and your saliva container, and that's it for setting up your equipment. Now you go ahead, set up your space, and I'll be back in a minute. Welcome back. So now we're going to learn how to calibrate our tools when using them for the very first time. You'll do it occasionally throughout the process if you haven't used your equipment for a long time or if you've moved locations. So first we're going to start with our refractometer. Our refractometer is what measures our bricks, carbohydrates. You'll learn about that in your training. So what you want to do is you want to gently open your flap, and you're going to add 2 drops of distilled water to the face plate right there. So you add 2 drops of distilled water and gently close your flap. Then you're going to look into your eyepiece, and when you look into the eyepiece, you will see the top part is blue and you have a small little area on the bottom that's white. That's at 0. When you see that the blue has met the white at the 0, you know it's calibrated correctly. If it's not calibrated correctly, you can remove this little black rubber tip here, and you'll notice that your kit came with a little screwdriver that you will insert there, and you will look in your eyepiece and gently turn it until you see that the blue and the white meet at the 0, and then your equipment is calibrated. You will then replace your little black cover, and you will gently wipe off your water. And now your equipment is ready for use. The second piece of equipment that we're going to use today is your conductivity meter. The conductivity meter comes in a package with a small little bottle like this and 2 bottles like this. Your pH meter also comes with 2 bottles like this, although their solution numbers will be different. You'll see your conductivity solution is 1.41 and 12.9. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your little bottle, which is your conditioning solution, and you're going to add some to your conductivity unit. You want to put it in the little holes in order to wet it up. And you want to saturate that spot and let it sit for 10 minutes. And the reason for that is because it's brand new and you want to make sure everything gets softened and ready for use. You can set that aside for 10 minutes. The next unit we're going to do is our pH meter. So we're going to open that package and we're going to see that in this unit you don't have that same covering like you had in your conductivity meter for protection. That glass is extremely sensitive and you want to ensure when wiping it that you just dab, as it will break. It's very fragile and it costs the majority of the cost of your meter. It's about $99 US dollars. So we really don't want to break that. So what you want to do is you want to take the same ones that came with your pH meter. I've had to replace, so I have bigger bottles, and you would first take your 4.0 solution and put it in your meter, turn your meter on, hit your calibration button, and just wait for your numbers to change. That pH meter solution that I put in there is a 4. When your little smiley face stops flashing, it should be calibrated. You can see that it got a solid smiley face at 3.9. Our buffering solution was 4.0. I think that works. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to rinse that off with some distilled water. Gently pat it dry with a very soft tissue. And then we're going to add the 7.0 buffering solution. And wait until we get a smiling face. You'll see the little CAL button on the bottom that we pushed, and it's blinking. And when your smiley face stops blinking is when you'll be calibrated, and your pH meter will be ready for use. As you see, you now have a solid smiley face and your pH meter is now ready for use. Okay, we rinsed our unit and is now ready for use. Now we're going to go back to our conductivity meter and we're going to rinse out our conditioning solution and give it a nice hearty dab. This one has a protected cover, so we want to ensure that it does dry, because a little bit of moisture in there will just give us a slight off reading with our calibration solutions, but it should still be just fine. So you take your 1.41 solution and put it in those little holes. Turn your meter on, close your flap, turn your meter on, hit your calibration. You'll see the blinking little CAL there with a smiley face. And we then should get a reading. It says measured. And we're almost there. So we got a solid smiley face. We will rinse out that solution and put in our second solution. Again, we're going to do a nice dab, dry off our, and add our second calibration solution. Make sure it's dry. And we add that second solution, hit our calibration button, and wait for our smiley face to solidify. You can see now with our second solution, 12.9 did show up. It went into measurement mode with a solid smiley face, and now your conductivity meter is ready to be used. Okay, now we're ready to take a test. See you in a minute. Okay, we're back again. So now you've calibrated your tools, you've set up your office, you've calibrated your tools. And now we're going to start our first test. We're going to fill out our form, as you would have received your form already. You ensure you have their name, their age, their height, their weight, their occupation, if you can, their ethnicity, and their religion. All those things will help you as you start putting together their programs for dietary things and different things that they may or may not eat in their life. Okay, we're going to start with our first test. We're going to do our nitrate test. Our nitrate test consists of using our universal solution and our 2 ammonia nitrogen solutions and our nitrate solution. We will be using our well plate at this time. The way I do it, I have these small communion cups, and what I do is I take 6 drops of the universal solution. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I add 1 drop of urine, and my urine sample is here. And I have these sitting in alcohol, and I ensure that my tips are dry so that we get an accurate sample. So then we take 1 drop of urine and we agitate that for about 2 minutes. And all that means is that we're mixing it up really, really well so that we can get a reading with our chemicals. And what I do is I kind of count in my head. You can run a timer if you like, but all I'm doing is agitating the 2 solutions, your universal solution, 6 drops, and 1 drop of the urine sample. So we've been doing that for about 60 seconds. We have another 60 seconds to go. Okay, now it's all mixed together. We're going to put 1 drop in the top 3 wells. 1. Even though we're doing 2 tests, I always put an extra drop for my nitrates. So we're going to put 4 drops of our ammonia nitrogen solution in our first well. We just want to evenly space that out if we can to make a nice pretty color. And you see that that sample already started turning one of these beautiful colors here. That takes about 15 seconds, and by the time that's done, I'll do these 4 drops. And this is your nitrogen solution. And you see that I emptied out the dropper. You want to do that each time you put it back. It'll help preserve your rubber tip. Okay, you can look at this and you can see that ammonia already has changed. And to do a reading, we'll record that as an 11. We'll write that on our charts. This other one is cooking for 5 minutes. I started that a little bit late, but we can watch that for 5 minutes. So while that's cooking, we're going to go and we're going to start filling in the rest of our chart here. So again, we have our refractometer, as we learned earlier, and we're going to take and we're going to add 2 drops of urine to the top of that sample. We're going to look through here, and we have a 6.5 reading of sugars. Then we're going to rinse that off with our distilled water, and we're going to take a soft paper towel and dry that up real good and place that to the side. Now we're going to take our pH meter. We'll start with our saliva, and we will let that give us a number till we have a blinking smiley. And while that one is calibrating, we will do our other test, our conductivity test, and get a reading there as well. And once we get a solid smiley on each one of these, we will fill in our numbers. We have a conductivity reading of 19.14, and we will times that by 1.43, or if you're using the software, it will automatically read into a C number. Okay, we will rinse this off with our distilled water as well, and wipe that down, dry it off, make sure you turn it off, and we are done with that one as well. And as we're seeing over here, how we've cooked up pretty nicely, and that is at about 3.4 in our time. But if you look at that and you look at these pictures, you say, now which picture does that look like? And that looks like an 8. So we are going to put our nitrate number as an 8. Okay, we got a 7.1 saliva pH, and so now we will rinse that out, and we will do our urine pH. So we will rinse that, clear it with distilled water, and remember, we're being extra careful while wiping this down, because this is a glass that we don't want to break. Lightly dab, and we will add a specimen of our urine. And wait for a smile. Okay, we got a standard smile, solid smile there at 5.3. So we have a 5.3 urine pH, and we document that on our paper. And we do a pen light here so we can see all the things that are floating around in the urine, and we can see that it is definitely a 4M. So our cellular debris is a 4M, even a 4M plus. I like to document also that it was kind of dark. And that would be your whole test. Now when clearing your test, you want to make sure you dump your urine, and I dump it back in the toilet. I throw everything, this is why I use this, so everything can go in the trash. I soak these in, I wash them and rinse them down with the distilled water, and then I sit them in a test tube of alcohol. So, and I will also, I'm very careful when dumping this. You want to make sure that you're protecting your piping. You can dab it with all the different papers you've used. Again, be very careful as you throw everything and wash everything.